Hello and welcome. This short slide presentation is about the importance of mindset, why mindset matters for the growth of your business, or indeed if you want to improve the acceleration of your career or the fulfillment of some of the goals that you'd like to achieve in life. Mindset matters. Hi, my name's Gavin Preston, and I'm going to be sharing with you in this presentation 7 secrets of the ultra high growth entrepreneurs. Now, you may be asking, who's Gavin Preston and why should I listen to you? Well, I'm a business strategist, a speaker and mentor, and I coach. And I've got over 2 decades of experience working inside businesses, from large corporates to startups to family businesses and everything in between, looking at the differences that make the difference in improving performance, not only of the business, but of the people and everything within it, so that we can accelerate the growth. I started off my career training and qualifying as a chartered accountant within KPMG, and won the first prize in the regional finals for the Northwest of England for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. Had experience in larger corporate doing consultancy, and got fascinated around behavioural change, around the differences that make the difference in human performance. Indeed, I've been studying that since the age of 15. And I'd completed a whole about 3 or 4 years training after I'd left sort of corporate world in the behavioural science of performance improvement, specifically working within the area of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So doing things such as the practitioner, the master practitioner, the business practitioner, the master business practitioner, trainer, and the list goes on. But I got steeped over a 4-year period in the tools, the techniques, the science around how can you improve performance in people, and my application was in the world of business. I then worked extensively within larger businesses and corporates, helping senior execs improve their own performance and that of their teams. Went on and studied extensively in the fields of strategy, marketing, both online and offline, scouring the globe actually, and finding the very best strategies that are working right now to be able to drive growth. Passionate about influence and persuasion and performance improvement. So big name clients, high street names such as HSBC, the United Nations, Ford and Carphone Warehouse, to name but a few, but also many small to medium sized organisations where I've helped them significantly increase the growth of their business. In actual fact, I run a program called Double Your Business, where I help clients double their business in a year or even less than a year. So that experience of what I'm going to be sharing with you is over 2 decades worth of watching and studying and learning and seeing the results of applying this stuff with my clients. Now, you may think this sounds great. Is it all hot air? Well, it's actually based on real results. And it starts off with, in the journey, for example, I've taken people on my clients on my DYB, my Double Your Business program, is you start off with if you keep thinking the same way, you're going to get the same old results. Keep thinking the same way, you're going to get the same old results. Or you may have heard things such as change your thoughts and you'll change your world. But I don't want this to sound like trite motivational quotes. I want you to see that this actually is based upon real world results. Here are a couple of my clients that I've worked with recently in the Double Your Business program. And for example, let's take Kirk in the top there. We took him from £18,000 turnover in a month to £100,000 turnover in a month. That was 5.5 times growth in just 14 months. And his business is Kirk and Pro Muscle Products, and he's going on to growing even at an even greater rate going forward now. Very exciting times for Kirk. Jamie, the second picture that you'll see there, his business and his family business set up by his parents, and it's called the Studio People. They've gone from £2 million to £4.6 million per year. That's a 2.3 times turnover growth in 12 months. So the things that I'm sharing with you are based on real world results. I went out and I studied from the very best I could find. I learnt and I watched and I looked at and patterned out what are the things that ultra high growth entrepreneurs are doing to create results. And I've shared these tools and techniques and insights with my clients, and these are the results that they've been getting. So this stuff works. But again, if I was to share, if you were to think, oh, this is a load of psychobabble, let me just ask you a question. If I was to give you £1 or $1, and I'm saying that we could actually do something with that, then we can turn that into £2 or $2. Would you be interested? And you go, yeah, sure, of course. If I was to say, actually, you could invest that same dollar, that same pound, and we could get a tenfold increase, would you be interested? Yeah, I've got your attention. Of course I'll have your attention. And some of these strategies, and there's more in the bank that I can share in future recordings, but some of these strategies have had a significant impact in mindset that has been fundamental to the changes that you saw on the previous screen, and just fundamental to the changes in the results that both Kirk and Jamie and other people within my W Business community have actually achieved. So the mindset is fundamental, it's crucial, it's absolutely at the core. So, what holds you back? You may be struggling within your business. It may not be going at the rate and growing at the rate that you would want it to grow at. So, there's a reason behind all of this. This cartoon here around, somebody making themselves at home, but actually making themselves at home while stuck in a rut. In actual fact, of national speaking tours I've recently done that have been sponsored by HSBC, where they filled the room with their business clients and business customers up and down the country. I had the great privilege of speaking over 2 years to over 5,000 different business owners. And one of the things that I noticed that was consistent with those that were not experiencing the growth that they would like is that they became stuck in a rut with their thinking. And such is the way that the brain works and the human mind works, is that sometimes we will convince ourselves that thinking in the same way and doing the same things is our lot. That's all that we're entitled to, or we could achieve, or indeed actually we're quite comfortable. And we put our feet up and we get a lamp there and a comfy sofa there and a hanging basket to make it feel like home. And rather than and distracting ourselves day to day with the news, rather than to keep an eye open and keep focusing actually, where do you want to head, what do you want to achieve? What I've identified in over 20 years of working with organizations to help create growth and accelerate that growth is that there are 6 things that you can do to actually create and deliver on that growth. 6 key elements I call the strategy compass, a model that we put together that will, if you have these 6 things in place in your business, you will drive growth. The purpose of this recording is to just delve into one element of mindset. But if you want to find out more about the strategy compass, just go to our website, www.gavinpreston.com, www.gavinpreston.com, or go onto our YouTube channel, which is Gavin Preston 1, and look for the recording that's all about the strategy compass, where I explain this in more depth. So that's Gavin Preston 1 on YouTube, and look for the recording where I describe the strategy compass in more depth. But let's just dive into mindset. And specifically, I want to share with you 7 lessons from ultra high growth entrepreneurs. The kind of people that they have a back bedroom startup of their business, and 3, 4, 5 years later, they've got a multi-million-pound business. In actual fact, I've had the great privilege of sitting down and interviewing numerous high-growth entrepreneurs that have done just that. They've gone from back bedroom startup, and in 4 to 5 years, they've got 40, 50 million pound businesses. And I've been asking them questions. What are the things that you're doing differently from other people that's getting such exponential growth, such ultra-high growth? Patterns emerged. Some of the same things started to come out. What I wanted to do is share with you 7 things that came out that were consistent. But before I do, let's think about your business. And I want you to think about growing your business. Where's the place that most people you think will start? If they're stood in the presence, where's the place that most people will look first when they're planning and thinking about the growth? Well, as the arrow on the screen would suggest, is that you would think that most people initially would look to the future. But that's not the case. Actually, what most people do when they're stood here in the present moment thinking about what are we going to do next year by way of growth and how can we grow, do you know the first place they tend to look? They tend to look backwards. They tend to look into the past. What did we do last year? What did we do last quarter? And when you look to the past, what did we do last year? What did we do? Well, we did 4% growth. We did 6% growth. When you project forward from last year and what the rate of growth that you did last year, we did 8% growth. What do you get? Well, you actually get back to the present. And in fact, what you're doing without necessarily realizing it is by looking into the past first, inherently or unconsciously you're making a fundamental assumption. And that fundamental assumption is the results that we can achieve in the future are a direct correlation and direct proportion to what we've achieved in the past. So therefore, if we achieved a 4% or an 8% growth last year, we're going to do the same thing again. Oh, actually, let's go for it this year. Let's go from 12% growth. But that's making the assumption that your marketing strategy is the same, that your market conditions are exactly the same, that the people that you've got in your team are the same, that the competition are working and responding in exactly the same way, that you've got your product and your product or service offering is exactly the same. Well, not if you just change one of those parameters, then you can get very different results. However, if you start your planning process from the past, it's like as you're moving forward, you're just dragging the weight of those past assumptions and self-imposed constraints behind you. So it can grow from 8% to maybe 12%. But do you know what the result of that is? Slow or incremental growth. Slow or incremental growth. How... By contrast, then, did the ultra-high growth entrepreneurs, the ones that achieve exponential growth, how do they think differently? What do they do? Well, the first lesson of the 7 I'm going to share with you is they think big, but they think 10 times. They ask themselves the question, the 10x question, what is it that we can do to create 10 times the level of results than we initially thought? So if they would say, I want to grow by 10%, they'll say, how can we grow by 100%? They say, I want to grow by 5 million. How can I grow by 50 million? I want to grow by 120,000. Well, how can I grow by 1.2 million? Now, here's the thing. When you ask yourself, how do you grow by 10 times? Can you think there like you did before? Because, by the way, to get incremental growth, what is it that most people do? Well, in order to be able to get that 5%, 6, 8, or even 10% growth, they do a little bit more of what they did before. And then they do a little bit more of what they did before. So they push the people harder, they put more transactions through the systems, and they get people to work overtime, and they maybe buy another machine, but they're pushing more through the system, through the factory. As the technical term or the phrase often used goes, they sweat the assets. And so that's just doing a little bit more of what you did before gives you incremental thinking. But can you get to the 10x results by thinking incrementally, doing a little bit more of what you did before? No, you can't. That's not at all possible. So what you need to be able to do is in order to be able to think 10x, it demands upon you to think transformationally, or to think exponentially. When in actual fact, you'll have to think, by thinking exponentially, you can get exponential results. Now, does every single entrepreneur, business person who says, right, how do we get 10 times the level of result, achieve that 10 times the level of result? No, not always. But they might achieve 2 times, they might achieve 4 times, they might even only achieve 1.5 times. But that's a significant greater increase and rate of increase than achieving 4% growth or 8 or 12% growth. Now, what's some of the challenge when we're thinking about, okay, you may say, Gavin, I get it. I'm going to ask myself, how do I create 10 times the level of result? I'm going to set myself a goal of increasing our business by 20% in the next year. And now I'm going to say how we're going to increase it by 200% in the next year. Okay, so you're standing at point A at the here and now, and you're looking to point B, 200% growth, for example. What comes up as you start to look forward and plan how you're going to get there? What starts to come up for you? Oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this. And before you know it, you're listing one thing after another in answer to the question how, one thing upon another. It's almost like a brick wall. And a brick wall that becomes so big of all the various different things that you need to do that it's hard, if not completely obscuring your goal. Now, what's the human response to when we've got all these things building up that we'd have to do in order to get that 200%, that 10x growth? Well, the human response to that is stress, it's fear, it's anxiety, but ultimately it's overwhelm. And then what's our response to overwhelm? Well, we shut down. put our head in the sand and we shut down, and we probably just sink back down into that rut that we were talking about before and try to convince ourselves that it was our lot in life. So this brings me on to our second lesson from the ultra high growth entrepreneurs, because they don't succumb to that overwhelm because they do step or lesson number 2, and they plan backwards. They plan backwards. Here's the thing. If you stand at the imaginary point, the red dot we got on the screen, that's the point in time in the future where you have set yourself the goal. It might be a 5-year goal, for example. If you stand at that point in the future and stand there and enjoy the moment as if you've already achieved that goal, that 10x goal, you're feeling great, you're feeling successful, you've got a great self-worth and a sense of achievement, you pat yourself on the back because you've achieved your goal. Then if you look backward, by the way, by patting yourself on the back, what happens, and enjoying the vision of having achieved your 10x goal, what happens to that doubt, that question whether it's possible, that anxiety, that fear, that overwhelm? It melts away. It's a trick of the mind because you've already stood at the point where you, in your mind's eye, you've achieved the goal. So if you remove that anxiety, that fear, that worry, that concern, that doubt about whether it's achievable or not, and you're standing in your mind's eye at the point of achievement, that you've achieved the goal, and pat yourself on the back, you feel good about yourself, you feel confident, and then your brain is in the position where you can think creatively and you can think clearly. If you're in a position of fear and self-doubt and anxiety and overwhelm, your brain just shuts down. It basically goes into the fight or flight or rabbit in the headlights freeze, and you're unable, it's physically incapable for you to think and come up with creative ideas and strategies and solutions to the problem, how you're going to achieve that. However, when you stand at the point in the future, patting yourself on the back, you've already achieved it, your brain goes, cool, we've achieved it now. You're feeling good and that level of doubt has gone. And then the second thing you need to do when you get there in your mind's eye is you look backwards and you ask yourself a question. What was it we did to get here? You see, if you'd stood back at the left-hand side of the image there and planned forwards, going from left to right, from point now, so let's say it's that 5-year goal I made reference to earlier on, and you'll stand at day 1 of the 5-year goal and you'll go, wow, we've got loads of time, we've got 60 whole months. So with 60 whole months, we could just take it easy, or we could do this, or this, or this. However, you jump to the end, and you look backwards. Stephen Covey in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People will say, start with the end in mind. You stand at the end, you've achieved your goal, you're at month 60, and you look back, what was it we did to get here? You will make different calls in terms of what needs to be done by when you plan backwards. Now, you need some space and time to do that thinking and to do that planning. So that takes me to lesson number 3. And I want to share with you a story of an individual who was one of the stories, ultra high growth entrepreneurs that had done the back bedroom startup to £40 million business in 5 years. And I said, if there was a third thing that you'd do that has achieved this level of growth in your business, what was it? And he said, well, it's easy. Every 2 weeks at least, every once a month, but ideally once every 2 weeks, I go off in the bus. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I've got one of those little VW campers that we have as a staff perk for the people that work in our business, the 20-somethings, so that they can go off and use it during the festival season and use it as a staff perk. Great. He said, well, I take my camper and I drive up to their business is based near the Peak District in the UK, and a beautiful area of outstanding natural beauty and mountains, and a haven for people that love the outdoors and walking. And he would drive his VW camper van up to the up to one of the car parks on the side of the hill with a great view, the ones that where the walkers park up and then they go and walk up the mountainside. And he would draw back the door on the side of the van, and he would make himself a cup of tea, and he would plan. He would plan out. He would get out his A3 sketch pad, which he showed me, and he'd start to work out what he could do. And he did do the plan backwards thing, but he made sure that he blocked the time out. He made sure that every month, without fail, and when he could do it, every 2 weeks, he'd take half a day out and he'd get some space where he couldn't be interrupted. He said, Gavin, it's brilliant. I'm halfway up a mountainside. There's no mobile phone signal. Nobody can come and interrupt me. I've got thinking space and time. So really high growth, very successful business people, entrepreneurs are ruthless with their time. In actual fact, they're very good at 1-2 letter word. No. Because every time you say yes to somebody else's goal, you're saying no to your own goal. So the second thing that they're very good at, the story I've just shared with you, a gentleman with his VW camper van every month, or even where he could every 2 weeks, he was blocking that time out in his diary. In his calendar, he was making sure that nothing could get in the way to disrupt him having that high quality thinking time. And he would map out, where is he now? Where does he want to go? And he would stand at that future point in time in his mind's eye, and he would work backwards what needs to happen in order to be able to get there. He'd write out the action plan, and he'd take that back to his team, and then he would share it and delegate it. The other trend that I've noticed that's very, very consistent is that it links in with the blocking of time as well, is that very successful, driven people tend to be those that rise and shine. They get up early in the morning and they have precious time to themselves to go through a morning ritual that will involve exercise, for example, and some of the mindset tools that I'll share in a future recording. Indeed, we have a 5-step formula called Strive, which are the 5 things you need to do in order to be able to create a winning mindset, a high performance mindset, in order to be able to scale and to grow your business. But the point is, they get up early, they get ahead of the day, they go and exercise, they start kickstart their metabolism for the day, they have time to think about and focus upon their goals, and they get working on their business before other people come into their place of work and the day-to-day queries and phone ringing and emails coming in, etc. Get up early, rise and shine. Now, the other thing, lesson number 4, is make the most of technology. The gentleman that sits in his VW camper van and he's planning out, actually there's a third element of what he's thinking about in his A3 sketch pad. Where am I now? Where do I want to get to? Then he stands at that place in his mind's eye of the end game, of having achieved it, and then he says, not only does he ask, what did we do to get here? He's asking the question, how can I use technology to help me get here? The fast-paced growth of computing is growing. The processing computational speed of computers, according to Moore's law is going to double every 18 months. Now, what's happening, we're talking about in the not too distant future that there'll be such a concept as quantum computing, which will have a quantum leap in terms of the computing power that's available and the growth and the capability of computing. Fascinating, exciting times where we're going to have greater use of augmented reality and artificial intelligence and robotics. However, technology, the point I'm making here, can actually help you achieve your goals quicker. It can create greater efficiencies and greater speed and accuracy. So have a look, keep your eyes open across the whole of your industry and indeed across other industries about how can technology help you improve how quickly you get your product to market, how quickly you innovate, how quickly you serve your customers. The 5th lesson is that successful people, whether they're a professional and winning sports person, anybody in the arts or the media, or indeed in business, is they've got a tunnel-like vision, a tunnel-like focus on what they want to achieve, and they'll do whatever it takes in order to be able to achieve it. They'll do whatever it takes in order to be able to achieve it. You've got to keep focused, belligerently, religiously focused on the goal, on what you do want, as opposed to what you do not want, but focus on what you do want and have a tunnel-like vision and focus in order to be able to achieve that. Remember, every time you say yes to somebody else's goal or ambition, you're saying no to your own. So the next lesson is, it's great thinking about, we're going to plan 10x, we're going to jump in our mind's eye to that future point in time and plan backwards. We're going to really use our time effectively, and we're going to block our time, and then we're going to we're going to focus on our goal with single-minded focus. But you've still got to get going, you've still got to build momentum, you've still got to take that first step. You have to jump. If you're going to, the ideas, in order to come up with a solution to the 10x question, there are going to be some pretty ballsy ideas, some pretty courageous and bold ideas that you will have come up with, some strategies that will cause you to have to jump, to have to almost, if you take the metaphor, you're jumping off a cliff and you've got a parachute strapped to your back. You've got to take the courage not only to jump, but have the trust that the parachute on your back will open. Because if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't go out there, you may not know at that moment in time when you're in that smaller bowl, knowing that you've got to jump up to that much bigger opportunity that will give you the 10x. You might not know every single step on the way and how you're going to get there. You may, realistically have moments of, can I do this? Is it possible? Well, if you don't jump, you will never experience that, and you'll just carry on with that incremental existence. However, when you do jump, you find a way. You may, as you initially start to fall, have your heart in your mouth thinking, has the first safety chute come out, and those moments of wondering, maybe even abject fear until the actual parachute deploys, the full parachute deploys. But unless you put yourself in that position, you stood on the ground, the parachute will not deploy. And the point is, unless you go for it, unless you go for that jump, unless you have the trust and the faith and the courage that you will find a way of doing it, and you will keep on doing it until you find a way and do whatever it takes to get the result. So be prepared, have the courage, be bold, take that jump, take that leap, and make sure that you do keep having the faith and do whatever it takes to get the result. And you will be delighted, maybe surprised and certainly relieved that even at the moment when things feel like they're going wrong, that metaphorically you don't feel that the parachute is going to open in time, there will be people that come into your life, resources that come into your life, opportunities that come into your life just at the right time that will help you make that leap and that jump successfully, as the metaphor of the parachute just popping open and you floating safely down to the ground. Now, consistency is everything. This great Aristotle quote for lesson number 7. We are what we consistently do. Excellence is therefore not an act, but a habit. How we do anything is how we do everything. How we do anything is how we do everything. These ideas, these 7 key lessons, are 7 key lessons that we need to be doing consistently. Because if we just do them one-off, we're going to get a result one-off. However, if we're doing them consistently, we're going to grow. And if we're applying the exponential growth on a consistent basis, you will be astounded how much you can achieve in a year, certainly how much you can achieve in a decade. So by way of recap, lesson number 1, think 10x. Second lesson is plan backwards. Stand at that point in time when you've already achieved your results and plan backwards. And this lesson number 3 is be ruthless with your time. Block time out to be working on your business, to be doing that thinking and that planning. Number 4, make the most of technology. It's growing at a phenomenal and exciting rate. And this enables you with full use of technology to be able to elevate or escalate the pace of growth of your business, of innovation in your products or service, and then at the speed in which you can deliver to your customers and meet their needs. Lesson 5, keep a tunnel-like vision, what you want, and do whatever it takes to achieve it. And you've got to make that jump and make sure that you're following this stuff in a consistent manner. So just jot down now and make a commitment to yourself. What are 3 things that you're going to do differently as a result of listening to the 7 secrets of ultra-high growth entrepreneurs about how much mindset matters? Just quickly jot down the 3 things that you are going to do in order to be able to achieve the out of what we listened to and what we covered today, in order to be able to achieve the goals that you've set. 3 mindset things out of them. Maybe there's 3 of those 7 lessons that really resonate with you most. Make sure that you drop those down now and make a personal commitment to yourself to actually take action on them and take action on them consistently. My name's Gavin Preston, and I hope you've enjoyed and got a lot of value from the 7 lessons from ultra high growth entrepreneurs. Mindset matters. If you want to find out more from us, go to gavinpreston.com. Check us out on YouTube. As I've already mentioned, the YouTube channel is Gavin Preston 1, and then you'll find out more videos and more value there for you. Check us out on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Gavin Preston Growth Strategies. We're on Twitter and Gavin Preston, and connect with me on LinkedIn. And until our next video, I wish you all the best in your ongoing success.